In this video, I'm talking to filmmaker Nate Laverty, based in the west coast of Canada in Tofino. He films what would be considered high-risk sports, and therefore risk has to be calculated carefully because it impacts everybody. This video is about how you make decisions as a group when the factors are uncertain, unpredictable, and lives are at stake.
I'm Nate Laverty, and I'm a filmmaker primarily in the adventure action space. A lot of what I shoot, I guess, would be considered extreme sports and commercials related to extreme sports often, like snowboarding and surfing primarily.
How do you calculate risk?
In regards to shooting sports, it always comes down to specific instances. A lot of the time it's a risk involved in the nature of where you're going and the environment, or the risk versus reward based on the aspect of whatever you're shooting, whether it's a big wave or it's a big mountain or a jump in snowboarding or whatever. Yeah, there's so many different categories of what the risk actually is, and then how we'll calculate, or I will calculate. I guess that's the thing, like most of what I shoot's more of a group decision than a personal decision. We make a decision as a group because most of what we shoot is done as a group to cover everyone else's backs, and they're there to cover your back. At least it should work that way. I mean, if it's something related to the environment, we always try to be on top of like forecasting. If in snowboarding, we want to be on top of what's going on with avalanche and snow conditions or weather. Are we going to get stuck in the backcountry because of a weather pattern coming in, or is it a high avalanche danger? So is it worth it? Is it worth it to go at all? Or is it worth it to go, but is it worth it to try certain mountains or mountain faces because of inherent risk there? That comes down to more like modeling, weather models, things like that. And that actually is quite transferable to shooting surfing, especially on our coastline here, because a lot of the waves that we access to film are a boat ride through pretty exposed waters. Conditions can change very quickly. It's like forecasting models. We let science dictate whether or not we take the risk. There's that aspect, environmental aspect, which is science-based, and experience and knowledge and knowing how to forecast and knowing whether or not it's worth it. That takes just experience. And then with direct like actions within the sports, such as like taking on a big wave or a big mountain or a big jump in snowboarding or whatever, those are all things that are discussed on the other side of the lens. I'm not super involved in that, but the more experience you have, the more time you spend with athletes, the more they let you weigh in. Everyone has different motivations for why they would want to take something on, and their own risk calculation is based on that, their motivation and what kind of outcome they're looking for, and is it worth it? And for me personally now, there's not a whole lot that's worth it to me. I'm older and I don't have anything to prove. If I'm not shooting someone skiing a giant mountain, I'll get hired to film someone opening a pharmaceuticals bottle on a commercial somewhere, or I'll do something else. Like, it's more career-based now. Maybe because of shooting surfing is somewhat new for me, I take more risk there maybe, because I still haven't seen the ultimate wave or the ultimate conditions. Maybe I'll be more interested in potentially having to do a run up the coast in a boat to access a wave that I haven't seen the way that I think that I could see it yet. But with snowboarding, I've seen the best of the best do the best, and I don't care anymore. That's why I quit shooting snowboarding, actually. I didn't quit fully, but I'll do high-paying commercial jobs related to snowboarding, but I won't shoot snowboarding like a job anymore. We were just finding ourselves in situations where I felt like the more you did it, the higher the probability you're going to be in a situation, and it's not worth it to me. I look at it like that. What is my motivation here? What am I trying to prove? And in snowboarding, I have nothing to prove anymore. So
Your assessment of personal risk has changed over time. I
yeah,
always think of you like no red lights.
yeah.
Just go for it because you're out there all the time.
Go first and ask questions later.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And that's how it was when you were younger, I'm assuming.
When we all were younger.
Yeah.
Some of the people that I know the best in professional sports came from the earlier years being pretty big risk takers and often taking more risk than their abilities really reckoned for, because that's what it takes now to be noticed in sports. You have to be one of these people that excels really quick. people nowadays, I don't know if it's something to do with our bodies makeup or what we're eating or something, but at a very young age, you can be exceptional at a sport quickly and naturally before ever becoming knowledgeable enough to actually take on that risk. You're kind of acting impulsively, especially with access to video content. Now you see other people doing, and therefore you think, oh, it can't be that harder. Or it just seems more attainable, more accessible to see what everyone's doing out there, especially if it's people that you see in the surf or you see on the mountain and you're like, I'm just as good as them or better than them. I should be able to do that, even if you don't feel quite prepared or have the knowledge, or maybe you're not with the people who can properly clean up the mess or whatever.
Whatever that means.
I've always been a risk taker. If I think more of the business side, I'll often start film projects when the funding's not there. I'll often take things on that I don't even really believe is valuable to anybody, but it's valuable to me, which to me is risk. I do way more passion projects probably than paid work. To me, that's a risk that doesn't feel like a risk to me. It just feels natural. I have a lot of friends who do what I do, who never do passion projects. The camera doesn't come out of the bag unless they're getting paid. I'll do a lot of like proof of concept stuff or spend days putting together treatments or briefs or decks, really visual and highly interesting to read, just on a whim, see if I can get some funding to make something happen. That's somewhere I definitely take a lot of risks. And I guess it's not calculated.
No. So we'll see.
Exactly. Always just believing there's probably someone out there who has the time to read this or back this project. I don't know. Start to rely a lot on my years of experience and just be confident and that I'm good at what I do, and whatever I do, whether it's backed or not, will work out simply on that basis.
How many years?
I would say like professionally been filming for 8 to 10 years. Before that, quite casually with other people's cameras. I didn't actually start working full time until about 2000, maybe 2013. I stopped taking other jobs.
Any advice for anybody about counting risk, personal, professional?
Professional risk, I just don't think you should take unnecessary risks that could affect someone else's outcomes. If it's strictly going to affect your own, like I talked about, I'll take projects and do passion work that's really just my time. It eats my time and affects my outcomes. But things that affect other people's outcomes, I think you should always consult your team. You're always just as good as your team. When I think of sports, you're only as good as the people who are there with you to support you. And it's probably the same professionally. If it's your own thing, I guess my most blunt advice is if it's a personal thing that only affects you, then don't even worry about risk. Just go for it. Yeah. Unless you're going to hurt yourself. But even then, go for it. I think as soon as you start worrying about whether or not you can achieve it, that's when you probably won't. The outcome isn't what you expected, but whatever the outcome is, there's probably something in there for you to learn from.
The Man with the Magic Brush is one of Nate's passion projects on Vimeo. The link to that video is in the notes. You'll see his other commercial work there as well. I hope this video gave you some ideas around how filmmakers calculate their decisions when there's so many unpredictable factors. Please share and like this video. See you on the next one.